welcome to Diksha Vedantu. I'm your Aditi Mam and I have got you a very important chapter today, that is tissues in action. We know the new NCERT book Exploration has made some small changes in all the chapters. So we are taking into account all those changes. We are doing all these chapters with full josh. Okay, now beta cell chapter is already completed. You can go and watch that lecture on the channel Diksha Vedantu CBSE English, and you can join the live sessions as well. We are coming live every day to do the questions on all these chapters for your PT test, for your half yearlies, for your boards, everything. Okay. Now beta, why this chapter is so important? See, in the last chapter we studied about cells, right? And we talked about how cells are the basic building blocks, the bricks of our houses, right? Similarly, they were the building blocks, the bricks for our whole organism, our whole body, right? Now beta, you tell me, can I just place few bricks and a whole house will build, a whole building will be there? No, right? Those bricks will first form a wall, then a room, then a whole flat, then other flats, and on the stack of them they will form a building. Just like that beta, the rooms, after stacking all the bricks, that is our cells, we get a room. Just by stacking our lots of cells, we get tissues. What are tissues? Not that tissue paper that we used in cold or that we use for other purposes. This tissue is present inside our body, and this tissue plays a lot of important functions in our body, such as protecting us, such as secreting some enzymes or things. We will study all of that in this particular chapter. The main thing is protecting us from all the outer layers, performing some functions, taking some water from one place to another, in plants, in animals. Let us see all that one by one. Now basically we are going to start this chapter with plants, but we will go through all of that until our body tissues as well. So starting with understanding what actually the tissue is. Okay, but the outline for this chapter will simply be tissue. Then again I told you we'll move on to plant tissues, then permanent tissues, animal tissues, and nervous tissue. And a new chapter, a new topic has been also added, the muscular skeleton. Okay, now we will be going to study about that as well. Okay. Now beta, starting with tissue. Now what are tissues? Now you tell me, if you stack green colored bricks, you will get a green color room. If you stack a red color bricks, you will get a red color room, and similarly with all other colors. Similarly beta, with similar kind of bricks, that is our cells, similar kind of cells come together. Okay, they must have similar function, they must have similar shape, they perform similar function. When all of these come together and act together to perform a specific function, that is the whole, the bunch of all those cells is called a tissue. A group of cells having similar shape and function act together to perform a specific function is known as a tissue. Done? Now we know the structural organization of our human body, of living organisms. What happens? Those small cells, they combine together to form tissues. All those tissues combine together to form organs. Then all those organs come together to form organ system. And then organ system comes together to form a whole organism. Okay, next beta, after this a very important question we get is, what is the utility of tissues in multicellular organisms? Why do we need tissues? Okay. I am so sorry for my bad throat, but now beta, tissues are very useful in our multicellular. Why beta? Why? Because they divide work among different groups. There are so many different tissues. Kidney has its own tissue, my heart has its own tissue, my muscles, my skin has its own tissue, and everything performs its different function. Now the same function that my kidney is performing is not performed by my skin, right? So every tissue has a different work, and it is divided among different kinds of tissues, different kind of cells. All those cells come together to form a tissue. Now, they divide work among different groups of specialized cells. Each tissue performs a specific function such as protection, such as support, such as transport or movement. This division of labor makes body functions faster. Okay, in assembly, in a factory, you will also see the whole assembly line. Some people are making, let's say in the chocolate factory, some people are making the chocolate, some are melting it, some are putting them in trays, and then the other bunch of people are putting them in freezers. Then other people are taking out and putting them in packets. So every other person has their own task. Okay. Similarly, every tissue has its own task, and they all come together to form their specific functions, and in total together they run this whole body. So it makes it faster to do all these tasks because of all the other tissues also doing their own specific task. Okay, so the division of labor makes body functions faster, more efficient and coordinated, helping the organisms survive, grow and respond properly well. Done? Understood? A very easy, basic yet important question for you. Done? Okay, beta. Next, very important, that is your plant cell, and also a little bit difficult to remember as well. Okay, so I have made it like a trick or something to remember this. Okay. Yeah. So beta, we have plant tissue. How will you remember this? We have a plant tissue, and who's that? The hierarchy of this country, our prime minister. Okay, let's just not go through the president and prime minister. Let's say who is responsible, who we talk to, who we ask questions to. Prime minister. Okay, prime minister, prime, permanent tissue, minister, meristematic tissue. Understood? So there are, the top of the hierarchy of plant cell is PM, the prime minister. From P we have permanent tissue. Prime minister is permanent for 5 years, but permanent tissue. Okay, and then from minister we have meristematic tissue. Now let's talk about minister part first. Now beta, in prime minister, after prime minister we have so many other ministers. Railway minister, we have some finance ministers, we have health ministers, education ministers, right? Similarly, prime minister has, in ministers we have 3 ministers. Okay, how will you remember this? See, meristematic tissue. This we will see in a bit. Now, but a meristematic tissue, it simply has this diagram. That's all you have to remember. How, ma'am, how will we remember these 3 meristematic tissues? See, meristematic tissue beta, let's say for now I'm just drawing this, okay, and then some other parts of it. Just I'm drawing this part, okay. We'll understand how to draw the diagram. Now, you know A, B, C, D, right? A, B, C, D. You just have to remember there are 3 alphabets. That is what? Your apical, okay, your intercalary and lateral. Now beta, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I. So A comes first, A will be at the top, I comes second, I will be in the middle, and after I, J, K, L. L comes at last, A, I, L. That's you have to remember. A comes first, after that I, after that L. That is what you have to remember. Now, remembering their name is a bit of the task that you have to do. You have to give me a little bit of effort, okay? Now beta, from A we have apical meristem. We have apical meristem. Now apical meristem is a tissue. Okay, this tissue beta is found at the edges. This tissue is found at the tips of stems or roots. You know, we have stems, we have roots of plants. So at the tip of that plant, the tissue is found. That is your apical meristem. What is the use of it? Read it carefully. These tissues are found to be, these tissues are found at the tips of stems and roots, and sometimes on leaves as well. Okay. Now what their main function is? The growth of that stem, the growth of those roots, the growth of that leaves. So they help the roots and shoots, of course roots in the ground, shoots above the ground, grow longer, making the plant taller. Okay, A, B, C, D, A comes first, meristematic, three ministers. We have prime ministers, permanent, meristematic. In meristematic, we have three ministers, A, B, C, D. A comes first. A is apical meristem. It helps in the growth. It is at the root. It is at the leaf, the end part, the tip of the stem. So it helps them grow. Okay, so it's making the plant taller. This kind of growth is known as primary growth. This type of growth is known as primary growth. Also, beta, this apical meristem is also known as your primary tissue. Primary meristematic tissue. It is a kind of, just a category of meristematic tissue, primary growth. Okay, next beta we come to intercalary meristem. Okay, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, intercalary meristem. Now beta, you have seen a bamboo stick, right? These are your bamboo stick. These are your bamboo sticks. It looks like they are blocks placed together. So when this particular block also grows sidewise, this particular block, look at this particular block. After some time you will see it has also gotten bigger. So to grow this particular block, it's called intercalary. Between intermediate we call it, right? So between these two, when this grows, it's called intercalary. So beta, when leaves grow, now leaves are coming out of somewhere inside the plant, right? They are not at the tip. They are coming from somewhere inside at the center or intermediate of the body. So that is called intercalary meristem. Okay, intercalary meristem is found at the base of leaves or between nodes on branches. These are called nodes. So between nodes or leaves or branches. Okay. Yeah. It helps parts like the internode or leaves grow longer. Understood? Intermediate, from intermediate you will remember intercalary tissue. And the first one was what? Apical meristem. Okay, second one was intercalary meristem. Then the last one beta, lateral meristem. Now lateral, you remember laterally inverted, you have not studied that. Okay, so lateral means sideways. Okay, now the stem was so thin, but now the stem is also getting wider, right? You see the trees which are 500 years ago are so much wider than the trees or like this much wider. Why? Because they grow laterally, horizontally as well. Okay, so that growth, that they become thicker. Okay, this was a tree, this is a tree after few years, so they got thicker, right? So it helps the root or stem become thicker. Their girth increases, whatever you call it, increases. This thickness is known as secondary growth. Now beta, this intercalary and apical, these are both primary growth or primary meristematic tissues. But this lateral meristem, this is your secondary meristematic tissue. This is somewhat called secondary. You will learn in higher classes. Basically just a symbol to define primary and secondary. Okay, but you will remember the growth that is making them taller. Okay, taller, that is making the leaves larger, that is your primary growth. And when they are getting wider, that is your lateral growth, that is your secondary growth. Okay, taller primary growth, wider secondary growth. Done. So this was your meristematic tissue. Done. Now coming back to the prime part, we studied about prime minister, right? So in plant tissue, we have prime minister. Prime means permanent. Minister means meristematic tissue. Meristematic tissue has three ministers, A, B, C, D. A from apical, meristematic. I for intercalary and the L for lateral meristematic. Done. So sorry. Okay. Then coming back to the prime part. Now beta, from prime you can remember permanent. Okay, now permanent tissue, now your prime minister can be very simple or it can be a very complex creature or person, right? So just like that, you will have a permanent tissue, which is, one is simple, one is complex. One is very simple, easy to understand, one is complex. Okay, so we have two permanent tissues, simple permanent tissue and complex permanent tissue. Okay, now beta, let's study about them, then we'll come to this. Okay. Now I have a very good trick to remember this. How you can remember this? See beta, prime minister, the term for a prime minister is what? 5 years. Very common sense. 5 years, right? So it has 5 parts. Sorry. You have parenchyma, collenchyma, sclerenchyma. I'll make you remember the names. Then you have xylem and phloem. 5. So in prime minister, we have permanent meristematic. Meristematic has 3 ministers. Permanent, it has 2 parts. Those 2 parts have 5 parts for the 5 years of a prime minister. Can you remember that? Okay. Now beta, coming to your permanent tissue, let's read about it a little bit. What is your permanent tissue? Okay, now come back to meristematic tissue for once. Beta, meristematic tissue and permanent tissue, let's do this difference, then we'll move on to their meaning. Now, why didn't I inform you about the meanings of meristematic and permanent first? Because see, you can understand them, but you also know how to learn them as well. Now that you have learned that, now if you understand it, you will understand better. Now see, beta, 2 tissues were there. First is permanent, then is meristematic. Now the main difference is beta, in permanent tissue, see, it's permanent, so it does not want to divide, does not want to split. So that permanent tissue has not the capacity to divide. It do not have the capacity to divide. On the other hand, beta, meristematic, it has the capacity to divide. Okay. Now, in this meristematic tissue beta, they can divide. When they divide, their size will get smaller. So they are smaller in size, has small in size and isodiametric, means they are roughly spherical in shape mostly. Okay, permanent tissue beta has cells larger in size. They do not divide, so their size does not get smaller. So they are larger in size and their shape varies. They can be elongated, they can be spherical, fat, dome shaped. Remember the last time we studied cells? Just like that, there are different kinds of tissues as well. Okay. Okay. Then beta, vacuoles. In beta meristematic tissue, we have vacuoles. We studied about vacuoles, right? In meristematic tissue, they divide. If they want to divide, we studied that vacuoles take most of the capacity of plant cell. But if they want to divide, how will that divide if most of the part is with vacuoles? So in meristematic tissue, vacuoles are usually absent in meristematic tissue to facilitate division. Okay. On the other hand, in permanent tissue beta, vacuoles are present in living cells to maintain its permanent growth and permanent structure. Vacuoles are present. Okay. Then we have intercellular spaces are generally absent because they are dividing. They are continuously taking up space. So intercellular, their spaces are absent. But here they are not dividing. So visible intercellular spaces are present. But these meristematic tissue, they have to divide. So that cell wall is very thin so that it can break and generate again. But they does not divide. They don't divide. So their walls are generally thicker, but they can be thin as well. Okay. Now this was the main difference between meristematic and permanent. Meristematic has 3 ministers: apical, intercalary and lateral. Now go back to apical and see what they are doing. They are growing. When they are growing, that means they are dividing. That means they are dividing, right? They support growth. They support growth by dividing, and hence meristematic tissue has the capacity to divide. They are dividing through nodes, through branches, through leaves. They are getting thicker. So they are dividing and they are providing growth to the plant. Now see what's the function of permanent tissue. Now you understand why I told you to study the meristematic tissue first, their parts, and then we go to the definition. Okay. Now look at the permanent tissue. Now beta, this permanent tissues are composed of those cells which have lost their ability to divide. They don't divide. They are like, bhaiya, we are settled. We don't want to divide now. Okay, I just want to live my life peacefully. Okay, they have definite shape, size and thickness. The permanent tissue may be dead or living. This is a very important thing. See beta, if a tissue is dividing, that means it's living. So meristematic is mostly living. But this permanent tissue, beta, it is so stiff. It does not wants to divide. It does not wants to divide because it's dead. Okay. So this permanent tissue can be dead or living. Okay. The division and differentiation of the cells of meristematic tissues give rise to permanent tissues. Now, beta, what happens? See, this meristematic tissues divides and divides and divides, and after some time you see your growth stops or the plant stops growing after some point. Okay, now I am being this height since my class 10th. Right, so I have stopped growing. Okay, so you can say that when I was growing, I was a meristematic tissue. Then I stopped. Then I converted into permanent tissue. So basically, this meristematic tissue over the period of time converts into permanent tissue. That means it grows first, and then after some time it stops growing. Okay, and converts to permanent tissue. In cell differentiation, developing tissue and organs change from simple to more complex forms to become specialized for specific functions. Now, obviously, beta, if you start doing a task, slowly, you will start doing more complex, more deeply that task. So, similar is the case. These tissues first are performing very simple functions. After some time, when they become permanent, they start taking on some complex functions as well. Okay. Now, these permanent tissues are classified into two types on the basis of structure composition, beta. That is your simple permanent and complex permanent. So, these prime minister, remember now, prime minister, permanent tissue, meristematic tissue in which cell divides. Why? Because it generates growth. Growth through that diagram A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L. Apical, intercalary, lateral. 3 meristematic tissues. Then beta, permanent tissue. Firstly, it has two structures, two tissues, simple permanent and complex permanent. Okay. Now come into simple permanent tissue. Beta, in simple permanent tissue, yes. So simple permanent has two parts. Beta, this simple permanent tissue has 3 parts. Permanent has 2 parts. Then simple permanent has 3 parts. What is that? Parenchyma, collenchyma, sclerenchyma. Ma'am, what are those? What are those difficult words? Just stay with me for a few times. Just keep repeating with me. See how many number of times I have repeated the one same thing. So you have to do that too. Okay? Now, beta, parenchyma. Beta, parenchyma, these have very thin walls. They have very thin walls, and what it basically does is it supports the plants and store food. Okay, it support the plants and store foods in roots and stems. Understood? What parenchyma does? It stores the food and supports the plant. Done. They form the basic packaging tissue in plants. The cells are simple and not very specialized. They do not do something very complex, very specialized. Simple basic structure, storing the food and providing the support to the plant. Okay, so these have very thin walls, very thin walls. Okay, and are alive. Of course, they are storing food. So you store food in something that is alive or dead? Of course, alive, right? They have large gaps between them because they are loosely packed. They are loosely packed. They have thin walls. Okay, very thin walls, but the gap between them are very large. Okay, done. Now, beta, in these also you have two, chlorenchyma tissue and arenchyma tissue. Now, remember, aren means airy, a airy tissue, which is light tissue. So, it does not have much weight. Parenchyma tissues with large air spaces help plants float. Have you seen lotus? Lotus floats on the water. Okay, why does it float? Because it has less weight. It is airy, so it has more air inside the tissues. That is your arenchyma. Chlorenchyma, beta, chlorine. That is your chlorophyll. So chlorenchyma tissues, parenchyma tissues which contain chlorophyll and can perform photosynthesis is called chlorenchyma. Understood? Okay, parenchyma, done. They have thin walls, they support the plant and they store food. There are two types, chlorenchyma, erenchyma. Chlorenchyma has chlorophyll, perform photosynthesis. Erenchyma, it has air inside it and it helps them to float and helps them making them buoyant. Okay? Next beta was what? Parenchyma, chlorenchyma. Okay? Parenchyma, chlorenchyma was a collenchyma. Okay? So beta collenchyma. See, chlorenchyma and parenchyma are very different things. See, first is your parenchyma. Parenchyma has two types, chlorenchyma and erenchyma. Now, collenchyma is a different thing. Okay? So, collenchyma beta tissues are found in leaf stalks just below the surface. You have a leaf, okay? Just below the surface of the leaf, you will find a tissue that is your collenchyma. Okay? If you have the word chlorenchyma, that means chlorophyll, that means parenchyma, type of parenchyma. If you have collenchyma, that is found just beneath the leaves. Okay, they provide flexibility. You know, leaves can lehra in the air, so they need flexibility so that they don't break. So this collenchyma, it provides flexibility to your leaves, okay, and allowing leaves and stems to bend without breaking. Done? Next beta, these cells are also alive. Okay, they are long and have thick corners. Now these have thick corners since they have to bend with the air, since when we touch them sometimes they bend. So to protect itself, it has thick corners. Okay, thick corners. There is very little space between these walls. See, in parenchyma they have large gaps, but in collenchyma beta they have little space between these cells. Okay, now just look at this collenchyma. Okay, so this is of course your protoplasm we studied in the cell chapter, your vacuole. See, they have thickened corners. Their corners are very thick. Okay, and they of course have a cell wall because it's a plant cell. Plant cell has cell wall. Okay, so beta, this is your collenchyma. Parenchyma gives supports to the plants, store food. Collenchyma, it allows and gives flexibility to the plant, okay, to protect them from breaking, bending without breaking. Done? This parenchyma has two types, chlorenchyma, which has chlorophyll, they do photosynthesis, erenchyma, which are light like air so that they can float in water. Okay, next, third was beta sclerenchyma. Now beta, the hard husk of coconut. You have coconuts, so you see the outer part is so hard. We sometimes take we call it hathodi in Punjabi, so we take that and we beat the coconut with it and break it, right? So we don't do that with apples or mangoes. Why? Because this outer husk, hard husk of coconut is made up of a tissue called sclerenchyma. Sclerenchyma, say, these tissues are found in stems or around vascular bundles, in leaf veins, and in the hard coverings of seeds and nuts. These are some of the places these can be found. Okay, their basic role is to give you hardness, to give you stiffness, to protect you from the outer world, right? So their role is to provide hardness and stiffness. Now sclerenchyma cells are dead. Of course beta, the outer part of coconut, it's not living, right? It's dead. When you hit it, you can clearly see that of course it is dead. It is long and with thick walls. The walls are thickened by lignin, making them very strong. There is little to no space between these cells due to their thick walls. See, now let me just write it down for you to make it clear. Now we had parenchyma. Now parenchyma, the function of parenchyma, okay, and we have collenchyma, and beta we have sclerenchyma. Okay, now beta, for these three things we have, first we'll write their part, their structure, their function. Okay, so its function was to basically store food, and provide support to the plant. Okay, what was the function of collenchyma? Collenchyma gave it flexibility flexibility, right? And sclerenchyma, beta, what was sclerenchyma? Basically it is hard and stiff. It is hard slash stiff. Now beta, this parenchyma, it has very thin walls, and hence very large space in between the cells. Large space between the cells. Similarly, collenchyma, it was a little thick. Okay, the walls were a little bit thick walls and less space than parenchyma, less intercellular space. Okay, now its walls are very big, so I will write thickest wall. Okay, thickest wall and very less space due to the thick wall. Very less space due to the, if the walls are thick, it will occupy all the space, right? Walls are thin, there is so much large space between cells. Okay, so basically this is the main part that you have to remember. In sclerenchyma, beta, we have an example of coconut, right? This where we have the example of leaves, and this beta we have the example of stems, right? Understood? Oh, in parenchyma it was not stems, right? In parenchyma we have two parts, two structures we had to write. The stem is in here as well. Collenchyma, leaves and stems. Okay, in parenchyma beta we have two things. First we have chlorenchyma, and we have arenchyma. Chlorenchyma, which has chlorophyll and it performs photosynthesis. Arenchyma, it is lightweight, makes it buoyant. So this was the main difference or main types of simple permanent tissue. Understood? Prime Minister, permanent tissue, meristematic tissue. Permanent tissue cannot divide, meristematic tissue can divide. So it has some ministers for the division of cells. It has ministers, it has three ministers: apical, meristematic, intercalary, lateral. Apical grows at the tip of leaves or stems. Intercalary, from the branch it grows the leaves, the internodal structure, the branch, it grows there. And lateral means the width of the tree. Then beta we come to permanent tissue. Permanent tissue has simple permanent, complex permanent. In simple permanent beta we have parenchyma, which supports the plant and stores food, collenchyma, which is flexibility, and sclerenchyma, which gives hardness and stiffness to your fruit or plant or seed. Okay, so this was the main differentiation up till now. Now beta, after that we have complex permanent tissue. Now what is complex permanent tissue? Okay, but a complex permanent tissue is of two types, that is your xylem and phloem. We studied a little bit about it before, right? We have, but let's just understand it in a little bit deeper manner. The basic thing is, it's very basic. The basic thing is it transports things. What are those things? But a xylem transports water from roots to the stem to the leaves. It transports water, and this phloem beta, it transports food. So the phloem, F sound of phloem, you can relate it to F sound of food. Okay, now beta, talking about xylem, you have to, these diagrams are very important, so you have to learn how to make these diagrams. Okay, now beta, this xylem beta, it is a vascular and mechanical tissue. What do you mean by mechanical tissue? Beta, it works mechanically. It takes the water, puts it to upper part. It works against the gravity, so it has to do lots of mechanical work. Okay, so beta, it is of thick walled. Okay, thick walled cells are found in the form of tubular passages. So there are tubes. Of course, how do we transfer water? We take some tubes or pipes. So similar is the case for plant. So it has some tubular passages like tracheids, vessels, and parenchyma, xylem, parenchyma. All of these are in the structures of tubes or pipes. So they transfer water. Now, it consists of 4 types of cells which are called as elements, which are tracheids, vessels, xylem parenchyma, xylem fiber. Okay, xylem transports water from the roots to the other parts of the plants. It has thick walls in the form of passages, tubular passages. Okay. Now beta, it has 4 types of cells, that is your tracheids, vessels, xylem parenchyma, xylem fiber. What are their functions? Now this beta, look at this tracheid. So it is basically in the form of a tube, right? So tracheid beta, they are elongated, right? Angular dead cells. This is very important beta. In xylem, they are just transferring food, they're just transferring water. Okay, so they don't have to be a living thing. Okay, water can sustain in a dead thing, right? So these are dead, they are elongated. You can see, right? They are elongated, they are dead, plus they mainly involved in the conduction of water and minerals. That is your tracheids. Okay, now beta, coming back to vessel. So it looks like a vessel, right? Beta, vessel, this is basically a stack of cylindrical tubes. See, it's a cylindrical tube which is basically a structure. Okay, cells are stacked one over the another and hence a tube is formed. Read it carefully. They are a little bit advanced element generally found in angiosperms. Okay. Now beta, these are cylindrical tube. Obviously ma'am, vessel is a cylindrical tube, right? These are cylindrical tube like structures placed one above the other, end to end. One above the other, end to end, which forms a continuous channel for efficient conduction of water. Understood? Clear? Basic? Now beta, the third part was xylem parenchyma. Now beta, this xylem parenchyma is the only part which is living in this whole xylem. Xylem has 4 parts: tracheids, vessel, xylem parenchyma, xylem fiber. This xylem parenchyma is the only part that is living. All other 3 are dead. Okay, this part is used for what? Beta, there are small and thick walled parenchymas which are subjected for storage of starch or food. Okay, so this xylem parenchyma basically stores food. Again, something that is storing food is living here. Okay, so something that is associated with storage of food will always be a living part. Done? So tracheid, vessel, xylem parenchyma is the living part. Okay, because that stores food. All others are just conducting water. Now the next is xylem sclerenchyma, we also call it, but it is also xylem fiber. Both are true. Again, it is a non-living fiber with thick walls and narrow cavities provide for mechanical support. Now, the water is going against the gravity, so it needs some work, mechanical support to go above. That is provided by this xylem fiber. Okay. Now, beta, just a conclusion, except xylem parenchyma, all other xylem elements are dead. Okay, why this is living? Why this is living? Because it stores food. Done? Now beta, the annual rings present in the trunk. Now you have seen the trunk. You have seen when a tree is cut. So you can see some round things, right? These are the round things. So beta, these are annual rings. By counting these, you can tell the age of the tree. Okay, so the annual rings present in the trunk of a tree are called xylem rings. These rings are called xylem rings, and you can tell the age of a tree by counting these xylem rings. By counting the number of annual rings, we can determine the age of a tree. Done? Okay. Now beta, this is where xylem part is done. Moving on to, we have phloem. The F of phloem, the sound F of phloem signifies to F sound of food. Okay, so basically it transfers food from soil, from roots to the upper parts of the plants. But the upper part of the plant is also making food. How? By photosynthesis. So it also takes the food from the upper part and goes downward as well. See, beta, in xylem is a unidirectional. It is a unidirectional tissue. That means water can only go from roots to the leaves and to the stems. But in phloem, it's a bidirectional, we call it. So food can go up as well and down as well. Okay, so they also consist of both parenchymatous and sclerenchymatous cells. Okay, the phloem consists of 4 types elements, which we have sieve tubes. See, we'll understand everything, don't worry. Sieve tubes, what are these? Companion cells, phloem fiber and phloem parenchyma. Now beta, they are what is it written? Parenchymatous. That means they provide the support to the plant as well. Parenchyma provides support, stores food. So phloem does what? It stores food and transfers food. So that is why it is called parenchymatous. It has parenchymatous cells. Okay. Now let's see one by one. Now beta, sieve tubes. What are sieve tubes? See, these are the tubes that visible. The tubes are visible to you. These tubes. These are the tubes. Look like tubes, right? So these are called beta sieve tubes. Now what are sieve tubes? Beta, these sieve tubes are simply a tube-like structure. Okay, and they are very elongated. They are very thin-walled, and they are placed end to end. Okay, they are placed end to end with each other. See, sieve tubes are slender tube-like structures made up of elongated, thin-walled cells placed end to end. Again, cells are placed end to end, and hence you combine it, a tube is formed, which is called our sieve tube. Done? Now beta, the end walls of sieve tubes are perforated by numerous pores called as sieve plates. See, look at this carefully. Hey, what is this? Okay, we have, see, look at these sieve tubes. Now they have small pores. They have small pores. Okay, so they are perforated pores. Okay, on the sieve tubes called sieve plates. Done? They are called sieve plates. Now beta, the nucleus of sieve cell degenerates at maturity. Degenerates means it breaks down as the years pass by, as the time pass by. With maturity, the nucleus, these sieve cells, they have nucleus, so they degenerate. That means they break with maturity. Okay beta, and sieve cells possess slime protein. Okay, protein which is concerned with growth and repair of sieve cells. Okay, now beta, sometimes you go and touch the plant, so plant gets wounded, plant gets hurt, it doesn't want to bend, but you just plucked it out, right? Or you try to pluck it, but it's strong, so you cannot pluck it, but it still get damages, right? So these sieve tubes have proteins to help repair the sieve cells, which eventually repair that plant. Okay. Now, next thing was what? Sieve tubes. We have companion cells. What are companion cells? See, again these sieve tubes are living. Why? Because now phloem is transferring food, it's storing food. Okay, so most of the parts of phloem are living, most of the parts of xylem, however, are dead. Only the xylem parenchyma is living, other three are dead. In here beta, sieve tubes are living, companion cells are also living. Why? Companion cells have dense cytoplasm. We studied in cells, what is the cytoplasm? The jelly-like substance inside the cell. So they have very dense cytoplasm and a prominent nuclei. Okay, companion cells have dense cytoplasm and prominent nuclei. These sieve cells and companion cells are called sister cells. They are called sister cells because they originated from single mother cell. Okay, then beta, we have phloem fiber. Now this is dead. Phloem fiber is dead. Why? Because it just gives mechanical support. It just gives mechanical support to our sieve tubes. These are our sieve tubes. To give it the mechanical support, phloem fiber is there, and that's why it is dead. Okay. Then we have parenchyma, again a living. They store food and help in radial conduction of food, and hence if something is storing food, they are living. Okay, these companion cells, they have cytoplasm, they have nucleus, so they are living. These sieve tubes, they are also living. Okay beta, done. So again we studied about, okay, let's go back to, I had a difference. Yeah, let's go through this slide. Now, what is a xylem? It conducts water and minerals. Phloem, on the other hand, it conducts organic solutes or food materials. That's the main difference. Okay. Direction of conduction, I told you xylem is unidirectional. Phloem is, however, bidirectional, right? Conduction channels in xylem beta, tracheids and vessels, which are the dead elements, they can carry water. What are those? That long tubes. These long tubes, these tracheids, these vessels are basically what is used for the conduction of water. However, beta, in phloem, sieve tubes, the living elements, the sieve tubes are used for the conduction of food and water. See, this parenchyma, however, stores the food, right? But these sieve tubes are actually the ones that transfers the food. Okay. Then coming back, living elements, xylem parenchyma, only one living element in xylem, that is your xylem parenchyma, which stores. Okay, that's why it is living. In phloem beta, sieve tubes, companion cells and phloem parenchyma are the ones that are the living part. Which was the dead part? The phloem fiber is the dead part. Okay. Then we have dead elements. Tracheids, vessels and xylem fiber is your dead element. In here, phloem fiber is the only dead element. Then mechanical support is given by, which provides mechanical support to the plant. Which in xylem? Oh, I have not written. Okay, see beta. Where is it? Yes, so we studied about here. Okay, tracheids, they do conduction of water. Vessels, they do conduction of water. These are xylem parenchyma, they store food. And this xylem fiber, it has thick walls. Okay, so because of that thick walls, it provides mechanical support. So what provides mechanical support? Xylem fiber. I'll write here, xylem fiber provides mechanical support to the plant, or this conduction of water, it provides mechanical support. On the phloem hand beta, it does not perform a mechanical function, but these tubes, where is it? I had that. Yes, this phloem fiber which is dead, right? This phloem fiber which is dead, it provides mechanical support, but to the sieve tubes, okay, not to the plant. Okay, so these xylem fiber provides the mechanical support. In phloem also, phloem fiber provides the mechanical support, but to the plant. Xylem provides mechanical strength to the plant, but not the phloem. It only and only focuses on the transport of food. Okay, great. Now beta, that was phloem and xylem. One more thing you have to study in your plant is protective tissue, the one that protects our plants. First is epidermis and second is your cork tissue. Now, what is epidermis? Read it very carefully. Now beta, the epidermis protects plants from injury, pathogens and water loss. Again, you were going and you gave a tupply to the plant. Okay, you try to pull the flower out, so the plant gets injured. How does it recover? Just like we have WBCs, right, to protect us, to repair our injury. Just like that, epidermis protect plants from injury, pathogens and water loss. How exactly? See beta, in desert plants we have cactuses, right? So they have thick thick edges, thick cuticles. Our nails, these are the cuticles, right? So they have thick cuticles. So beta, the thick cuticles of epidermis, they reduces the water loss, because obviously in desert so much heat, you need more water. So plants also need more water. So they prevent water loss by lowering the rate of transpiration. Okay, the epidermis in certain areas also allows for gas exchange and during respiration and photosynthesis. In roots, the epidermal cells increase the surface area, okay, aiding for better absorption of water and nutrients from the soil. So this epidermis is very important. Okay, and it protect us from protect plants from what? Water loss. Okay, so much heat, so us human beings, injury caused by human beings, animals, and they help in gas exchange as well. They prevent water loss as well, and they prevent the absorption of nutrients from soil, from the absorption of water from soil as well. Done. Next beta, we have cork tissue. Now you have seen trees, how hard the outer part is of a tree, that you need a mechanical saw to cut it. So it is really hard. So it provides strength, it provides a protective layer to our tree. Okay, the outer protective coat of a tree is called cork. It is one of the components of tree bark. Right, the tissues of bark become old and the secondary meristem replaces them. Okay, beta, this tissue, the bark tissue, is very old, right? So the meristematic tissue actually eventually gets converted into permanent tissue as well. Okay, this cork is made up of multiple thick layers. As a result of this process, function of this cork are what? It protects the tree from bacterial or fungal infection, obviously, and it prevents water loss through the bark as well. Okay, these are some of the functions of cork, of epidermis. So beta, how did we started? Ma'am, we started with the head of the country, Prime Minister. Permanent tissue and meristematic tissue. Now beta, in this we have permanent tissue, meristematic tissue. Meristematic tissue divides. So it divides into 3. So it has 3 ministers, or it divided into 3 ministers. Okay. The first one is what? Now we know ABCD, we start with A. That was what? Apical meristem tissue. Okay. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I. That is your intercalary meristem. Then beta, at the last we have lateral meristem. This is at the tips of the leaves or the stems, right? Intercalary is internodes or branches, or beta, this lateral is your width, or we call it girth of the plant. Done. Now in permanent beta, we have 2 types of permanent tissue. First is your simple permanent tissue and second is your complex permanent tissue. Make this flow chart with me. Come on. Everybody take out your notebook. Make this flow chart with me. You have to revise it so that you to learn it. Okay. You will not learn it by seeing me. Revise it again and again. Okay. Now beta, in total we have 5. Why? Because the 5 years term of the Prime Minister. Now beta, in simple we have what? Parenchyma, and we have collenchyma, and then we have sclerenchyma. Also beta, in parenchyma we have chlorenchyma, and beta we have arenchyma as well, right? But in complex beta, we only have 2, that is your xylem and your phloem. Understood? Know this whole flowchart by heart right now. Done? So this was beta your whole plant tissue. Of course, we learned 2 more things. We learned 2 more things as well, right? First, that was your protective tissue. That was your protective tissue. First was your what? Epidermis. epidermis, and we have cork. Okay, understood beta? These are all the things we learned in your plant tissue. Done? So the first part of your chapter is completed. Next beta, we are going to study about our tissues, animal tissues. Ma'am, am I an animal? Beta, we all are animals. Okay, all human beings come under animals. Okay, so let us study about animal tissues. Now beta, we have 4 animal tissues. We have how many animal tissues? 4 animal tissues. Then first is your epithelial tissue, second is your connective tissue, muscular tissue, nervous tissue. Now you can remember these 3. The muscular tissue, of course, nervous tissue, of course, nervous tissue, of course, in your knee. Okay, you have brain in your knee. Then we have connective tissue, of course, my whole body is connective. Now, and one you have to give a little bit effort, that is your epithelial tissue. Done? Now beta, let's see one by one what all these tissues are, starting with your epithelial tissue. Now beta, this epithelial tissue, it always grows on some other type of tissues. Okay, like I have a tissue on my kidney, I have a tissue on my skin, I have a tissue on my heart. So that is what? That is epithelial tissue. It grows on some other kind of tissues. Okay. So the cells of this epithelium are set very close to each other, and the tissue rests. It rests on a non-cellular basement membrane. It rests on a membrane. Just remember that. Okay. Now beta, it consists of a single layer of cells. It consists just of a single layer of cells. Blood vessels are absent, and it is non-nervous in nature. It is non-nervous in nature. Okay, so it covers all the organs. It covers all the organs and lines the cavities of hollow organs like stomach. It is primarily protective in function. So basically, to protect our organs, there is a covering of a tissue over those organs, and that is called epithelial tissue, that is used to protect us. Okay, so basically a tissue that protects all our organs is called epithelial tissue. Now where is it present? See, these are some of the types of epithelium or epithelial tissues. Beta, epithelium tissues are classified as what? Squamous epithelium, cubical epithelium, columnar epithelium, and ciliated epithelium. Let's just understand what are those. Okay, but squamous epithelium, these are what? See, your mouth, inside your mouth, whenever you are chewing, sometimes you cut your inner skin of the mouth, right? So it hurts, it pains a lot, and sometimes it bleeds, right? So the thing you bite, the thing you just bit is a squamous epithelium tissue. It's the layer of that tissue. It's the inner surface of mouth, your esophagus, your blood vessels, your alveoli of the lungs. Okay, so these are your squamous epithelium tissue. Okay, then beta, we have stratified squamous epithelium. It is the outer layer of skin. Outer layer of skin also has a tissue, that is your stratified squamous epithelium. We'll study what stratified means in the next slide just. Okay, wait. Next beta, we have cuboidal epithelium. Why it is called cuboidal? Because look carefully, it looks like cubes, right? It looks like cubes stacked together, right? So these are nephrons. We studied about nephrons in kidney, right? So beta, you will study about nephrons and kidneys in class 10th. Okay, so these are the tissues which nephrons are made up of, our salivary glands are made up of. These are that cuboidal shaped tissues. Okay, done. Next beta, we have columnar epithelium. So looks like columns. You see the columns that we place in our houses to give it support. It looks something like that. Looks something like that, right? So your inner surface of intestine, right? Your inner surface of intestines have these tissues that are columnar epithelium, right? And these are your alimentary canal as well. Done? Okay, then we have ciliated epithelium. What are those? Beta, your tracheas, your bronchi, your fallopian tubes in females, your nasal cavity, all these, your uterus, all these have a tissue called ciliated epithelium. And this tissue basically is the covering. It protects those organs from outer injuries. Okay, done? Okay, great. Next, moving on to the next tissue, beta, we have, see, we had muscular tissue. Now, beta, muscular tissue, what do you think? Where do you think it is? Obviously, ma'am, the muscles. Okay, see, beta, the cells of these connective tissues are widely spaced. Okay, these are widely spaced and they are embedded in a movements are brought about in our body with the help of muscular tissue. Through the help of these muscles, we grow our muscles. Why? Because these muscles support us, right? And we have a tissue for these muscles, muscular tissues, which helps in the movement, which helps in the better movement so that we don't injure our muscles, right? So, beta, these are widely spaced so that they can stretch, they can contract. Okay, these are long fiber-like cells called muscle fibers. They are capable of contraction and relaxation, right? These types of muscular tissues are striated muscles, cardiac muscles, and non-striated muscles. Until here, is it clear? Is it clear what muscular tissues are? Basically, these are the connective tissues and are placed very widely. How will you remember they are placed widely? Because we contract them, we stretch them when we do stretching. So, the stretches. So, if they have space, only then it stretches, right? So, they are widely placed, right? Okay, then beta, the types are called, first is striated muscles or skeletal muscles. So now read it very carefully, okay? These are also called voluntary muscles. Now what does that mean? Voluntary muscles, beta, I have the full support or I have the full power over my finger to open it or close it, to open it or close it. It's not like it's happening on my own and I can't control it. Oh, I can't stop my hand moving. Of course I can. So, I voluntarily move my hand. So, these are called voluntary muscles because these are under the control of one's will. Right? So, muscle fibers or cells, they are multinucleated and unbranched. They are multinucleated, beta. There are so many nucleuses present and they don't have any branches. They don't have any branches. They are unbranched. Okay, each fiber is enclosed by thin membranes. Each fiber is closed by thin membranes which are called sarcolemma. It is called sarcolemma. Now, beta, this cytoplasm is also called sarcoplasm. In this also, just like cells, we have cytoplasms which is called sarcoplasm. Very basic random information sometimes NCERT gives you. And these muscles get tired and need rest. Obviously, after a hectic day of gym which you don't go, these muscles get tired. Okay, your only muscles that are getting tired are your eye muscles after scrolling reels. Done? Okay, great. Next, beta, we have a very important, that is your non-striated muscles. Yes, so it is your non-striated muscles. These are what, beta? These are smooth muscles and they are involuntarily. They are involuntary muscles, means you do not have any control over these muscles, right? So these muscle fibers are uninucleated. See, these muscle fibers are multinucleated, but non-striated ones are uninucleated and are spindle shaped. Look at these are of spindle shaped. Okay, they are not enclosed by membrane, but many fibers are joined together in bundles. Okay, such muscles are found in the walls of stomach, intestine, urinary bladder, bronchi, iris of our eye. So all these things we don't really control. I don't think, okay, let the bronchi work. Okay, let the small intestine work. Digestion is happening on its own. So it's involuntary. I can stop my digestion. Okay, so this peristaltic movements in alimentary canal are also brought by the smooth muscles. These are called smooth muscles. Then beta, one very important muscle comes, that is your cardiac muscle fibers, that is your heart. Now these are also involuntarily. You can stop breathing for a second. You can stop breathing, right? But you can't stop your heart from beating, right? On your own will. You don't have the control to stop your heart breathing. Okay, so they are only found in the walls of heart. Their structure is in between the striated and non-striated muscles. Okay, they are uninucleated and branched. They only have one nucleus and are branched. Branches are united by intercalated disc. Okay, in these muscles, rhythmic contraction and relaxation occurs. Now, in my bicep also, that I don't have, relaxation and contraction can happen on my will if I choose to go to gym. Okay, but in my heart, a rhythmic contraction and relaxation happens. It continuously beating, duk duk, duk duk, duk duk. It's continuously doing it. That's a rhythm. Okay, throughout the life, throughout your whole life. Okay, great. This was your muscle tissue. Then beta, this is the basic difference. You can get a screenshot as well. See, striated muscles, these are voluntarily. Non-striated, they are involuntary. Cardiac muscles are involuntarily. They are attached to the skeleton. Okay, they are attached to the skeleton. Obviously, that's why I am moving my hands. Right? But these are non-striated, are walls of stomach, intestine, urinary bladder, bronchi, iris, etc. These are only found in the walls of the heart. These are multinucleated. See, we have so many muscles. So remember, it's multinucleated. All these are uninucleated. These are unbranched. I don't have two arms, although that does not mean what it is trying to say. But you can remember like that. Right? So these are spindle shaped. These are branched fibers. Now enclosed by a thin membrane called sarcolemma. Okay, not enclosed by a membrane. Fibers joined in bundles. Remember? Then enclosed by sarcolemma with intercalated discs. Everything we studied right now. Ma'am, I don't remember any of it. You won't. Just give it a little bit of time. Take the screenshot. Make this table by yourself. Then learn it. Make it again. Then learn it. Make it again. That's how you learn. Okay? Okay. The cytoplasm. In striated muscles, the cytoplasm is called sarcoplasm. Again, sarcoplasm. Again, sarcoplasm. These striated muscles, your muscles, when you go out gym, they get tired, they need rest. Okay, they do not get tired easily, but somehow your digestion suffers if you do some extraordinary activities, but they cannot get tired. Okay, then beta, these appearance, these are striated, that stripped appearance they had. These are smooth appearance. Okay, and these are intermediate structure between striated and non-striated. Function, these are voluntary movements, these are involuntary. They control involuntary movements like peristalsis. They control rhythmic contraction and relaxation of the heart. Done. All the muscle tissue, all the parts of the muscle tissue are done. Right? Next beta, we have connective tissue. Now connective tissue obviously means something is connecting. Right? So beta, this tissue, it provides you the structural framework. It connects different body parts. It offers protection against infections. It stores fats and it occupies and fills space. Something is ringing. What is everywhere? That is connecting everywhere. That is filling the spaces. That is protecting us from infection. That is storing fats. That beta is our blood. Right? So blood is a fluid beta which is a connective tissue. Now it flows, it transports gases, it transports oxygen, carbon dioxide, digestive food, hormones, hemoglobin to different parts of the body, right? So this blood beta also provides protection with white blood cells. Okay, so beta, this blood contains of first plasma, which is 55% of that blood. That is not all RBCs. It contains plasma. Plasma is that liquidy part, right? So it contains 55% of the blood. It consists of 90 to 91% of water, okay, and 7% of proteins like albumin, fibrinogen, globulin, right? And 0.9% of inorganic salts as well. Then we have corpusculus. It contains 45% part of the blood. Then we have beta RBCs. These are called beta what? Arthrocytes. Arthrocytes, whatever, however you want to pronounce it. Not that main topic, but it contains red colored pigment or red colored respiratory pigment called hemoglobin, which helps in the transport of oxygen. Then next beta we have WBCs. Of course, WBCs are called the soldiers of the body. They come in play when we get injured, and when there is an external body inside our body. They're like, oh, this is not supposed to be inside the body, let me fight it. So these are your soldiers. These fight the enemy, the external enemy in your body. Okay, they are irregular in shape, right? They protect our body by engulfing bacterial and other foreign particles. Okay, they are of 5 types: monocytes, lymphocytes, basophiles, neutrophils, and eosinophiles. Just remember it. Okay, then we have blood platelets or thrombocytes. Okay, they are spindle shaped, which are involved in clotting of blood. Okay, they are spindle shaped, which involves in clotting of blood. Okay, these platelets. Done. These are your WBCs. They are soldiers of the body. Platelets, beta, when you have this, you are walking and you're clumsy and you hurt yourself, there is a scratch, and you see after some time blood clots there, it becomes brown, then it comes out, right? That happens because of platelets, because platelets are now healing the wound. Okay, they are healing the wound. They are involved in clotting. The clotting of blood happens, so they are healing the wound by clotting the blood so that the loss of blood can stop. So all this is done by your platelets. Done? Understood? Okay, beta. Next, moving on to a very important topic, that is okay, we'll get a very important question now after this. Describe the structural differences between tendons and ligaments. What are these? We haven't studied. Then let's study. So, beta, tendons. Now, this is a part of connective tissue, okay? Tendons is a connective tissue that attaches muscles to the bones. In my hand, I have muscles and I have bone as well. So, how are these two attached? These are attached through tendons. What are ligaments? They attaches bone to bone. See, this is my different bone, this is my different bone. How are these attached? Through ligaments. Tendons, bones to muscles, ligaments, bones to bones. Okay? They are non-elastic and tough. Muscles and bone, they are non-elastic, they are tough. Okay, but these are beta elastic and very strong. Helps in the movement of bones. Muscles and bones, they can be moved, I can stretch, I can relax, but they help in stability and holding of the bones together. Okay, each muscles contain one tendon. Each muscle contain one tendon, but in here beta so many ligaments are there. Each joint, this is my joint, this is my joint, each joint contains so many ligaments. Okay, they are white in color due to less blood supply. Okay, however these are a yellowish in color, okay, due to the presence of elastin fibers. Okay, because they are elastic, there are some elastin fibers, and because of that they are little bit yellow in color. Done? Okay. Then beta, we have one more difference, very important, that is your cartilage and bone. Now beta, cartilage, it is very soft, elastic and flexible. Whenever you see in a diagram, there is just, you can see blood, muscles, the whole body. Okay, that's your cartilage. The bone on the other hand, beta, these are hard, these are tough, this is flexible. My bone cannot be flexible. Okay, my bone will break if I try to flex it. Then its matrix occurs in homogeneous mass. Its matrix occurs in lamellae. Okay, beta, tissues has a rich blood supply. They have very rich blood supply. It does not have a rich blood supply. Okay, then we have growth is bidirectional. Here growth is in the bones, the growth is unidirectional. Okay, Done? Good. Then beta, we have just two more very important tissues that we have to study about. That is your areolar tissue and your adipose tissue. Now beta, this adipose tissue, see, you had pizza, you had burger. What do you think? Where do they go? They go here. They go here. Okay, where do they go? They store fat in you. Now beta, there is something called what was the name of that fat? I just forgot, but I'll let you know. So beta, on your liver, maybe you heard fatty liver, on your stomach. So inside your liver, inside your stomach, sometimes fats get stored. Okay, because of that. Why? Because of what? Because of this adipose tissue beta. This adipose tissue is made up of round and oval adipocytes. These are filled with fat globules. This tissue is filled with fat globules. Where does this fat globules come from? The pizza you had yesterday, the noodles you had yesterday. From there, from those fat globules, this adipose tissue is made up of. Okay, these have excess nutrients, are stored as fat in this tissue. Then it helps in temperature regulation. Now beta, on our stomach, mostly this adipose tissue can be found. Now you have seen lots of people, maybe they're not that fat, but their stomach has a lot of fat. Okay, so why is that? Because adipose tissue is there. It is so much there on our stomach and it stores fat. Now you have also seen some of the people who are like fat, they do not feel much heat, much cold. Right? Why? Because this fats, it traps the temperature, so it keeps the heat inside. Okay, so it helps in temperature regulation as well. Adipose tissue is commonly found beneath the skin and around internal organs like kidneys. It is harmful. Okay, now talking about areolar tissue. What? It is the most distributed connective tissue. It is the most distributive connective tissue in the body and it fills the spaces inside our organs. Okay, I have kidney and just on the side of that I have small intestine, large intestine, stomach, liver, pancreatic. But to separate all these, we have a tissue called areolar tissue. Okay, it is everywhere in our body and it fills the spaces inside the organs. Right? It is found between skin and muscles as well. The skin, and below that I have muscle, right? Between that there is a tissue called areolar tissue around blood vessels, nerves and bone marrow as well. Done beta? Okay, now we studied about the main three tissues of animal tissue. That was what? Epithelial tissue, connective tissue, muscular tissue. Now talking about nervous tissue. Beta, do you get nervous? Do you get nervous before the exam? Well, this is not that nervous tissue, but this is your human nervous system. Maybe you have your brain here, or your friend will have their brain here, or you will have your brain here. Okay? Okay. Now beta, talking about human nervous system, we have a tissue called nervous tissue. Now these are complex, they are highly specialized tissue. Inside the brain they contain, they coordinate, they support, they think for my whole body and they overthink at night as well. So these are highly specialized tissue due to which animals are able to perceive and respond to the stimuli. Now you are sleeping and your friend, he touches your hand on a hot vessel and you go, even though you're sleeping, your brain knows that this is hot and I have to take my hand off. That's how complex your nervous system, your nervous tissue is. Okay, why is that? Why is when your mother slaps you, your neck goes like this? Because your brain knows that, oh, mama is going to slap, and it remembers, it gets deja vu. Okay, so it's getting deja vu and then like, okay, it's going to hurt, let me just decrease the pressure, decrease the force. Okay, so beta, these are able to respond to the stimuli. Their functional units are nerve cells. Nerve cells or neurons, very important. These are made up of nerve cells which are called neurons. Okay, structural and functional unit of nervous system. These are longest cell on the body. Every time, anytime someone asks you what is the longest cell in the body, that is your neuron or nerve cell. Okay, cell body is called cyton. This cell body, beta, we'll study in a bit. Let's keep it for that. Okay. Now, beta, it is the most important diagram of your class. Okay, this is the most important diagram. Make sure you are doing this. Now, this is your neuron. Okay, this is your neuron or nerve cell. See, beta, it has three parts: a head, a body, and let's say a tail. Okay, now, beta, whenever you see your mother touches your cheek, okay, your signal is collected, right? The signal has to be collected from the upper part of your skin, right? From the first point where the signal is caught, that is your these points. That is your these points. These are the points where the signal will be first caught. These are called dendrite. So the dendrite will collect the signal that it's going to hurt. It collects the signal. Now it has a nucleus. Okay. Now what it does is, beta, the signal is converted into, this signal was what? This was a basic signal. It was converted into electrical signal. It was converted into electrical signal and it has nucleus. Okay. So it was converted into electrical signal sent to the body called axon. This whole part, beta, is called axon, right? It is the body of your neuron. Right, and it has these special protective layer, just like electric wires. They have a protective plastic layer over them, right? So just like that, this neuron body also has a protective layer, but this nerve, it is called axon. And next, beta, we have this tail, these parts. Now, of course, there will be some other neuron. There is some other neuron as well. Okay, after this, now this is the head of the neuron. Now from the tail of this neuron to the head of another neuron, the signal will be transmitted, and just like that, the signal will be transmitted from this neuron to this to our brain, to this to the brain, and the brain will think, oh, it's going to hurt, and you give a reflex action. Done? Okay, great. So now, beta, this was neuron. What are the parts of neuron again? Dendrites. These are branched structures that collect the information from the previous neuron and pass it to the cell body. Just like we studied, cell body, beta, it contains the nucleus and other organelles like mitochondria, endoplasmic reticulum, and Golgi body. Of course, the cell will also have all these, right? Then we have axon. It is a tube-like structure that carries information from cell body to the nerve ending, right? Then we have nerve endings, the end of the axon, where the nerve signal is transmitted to the next neuron or next target cell, is called your nerve ending. Then we have beta nucleus. This contains genetic material of the cell that we obviously studied in our last lecture. Okay. Then, beta, after that we have a very important topic left, the musculoskeletal system. Now this is a new system that was given by NCERT or CBSE, whatever you want to call it, this time. Now, beta, this musculoskeleton is very important. Why? Because we are studying about some of the joints. What is a musculoskeletal system? Now, my whole body, it is made up of muscles, it is made up of joints, it is made up of cartilage, ligaments, tendons. All these combined is called musculoskeletal system. So basically, this is the system that helps us to support, that helps us to stay upright, that helps us to move, maintain function, posture, and protect our delicate organs, right? So that is your musculoskeletal system. What it does, it helps to maintain posture and protects our organs. It helps to move and stay upright as well. Okay, just having my chai for a second. Okay, the musculoskeletal system functions under the control of the nervous system. Now obviously my brain controls it, right? My brain asks me to do this. I don't know why, but it is programmed like this. So my musculoskeletal is working through my nervous system. Okay. Now beta, when a muscle contracts, the tendon transmits this force to the bone, of course, and resulting in the movement at a joint. Now whenever if I have to do this, of course my muscle will contract, it will not relax, it will not stretch, it will contract. So this contraction by tendon, this transmits the force to the bone. There is a bone, so tendon transmits this contraction of muscle to the bone, and hence I can move. Okay, I can make a movement in my joint. What are joints now? Now we have different kinds of joints. First beta is your ball and socket joint. Okay, what is your ball and socket joint? See, this is my what? Shoulder. Okay, I can move it in any direction. I can move it in any direction. I can do this dance, I can do this dance, I can do any direction, right? That is your ball and socket joint. So beta, the shoulder joint that allows free movement of the arm. This is because the rounded top, this rounded top beta of the upper arm, the rounded top of the upper arm fits into the shallow hollow of the shoulder bone. So this is my shoulder bone, this is my upper arm. Just between them I have a joint, that is a ball and socket joint, which allows me to do all kinds of movements. Okay, together with the collarbone, the shoulder forms the shoulder girdle, which connects the arm to the skeleton. Okay, this joint allows forward, backward, sideways, circular movement. Okay, next joint beta we have is your hinge joint. Now just like ball and socket, it can move, but hinge joint can only move in a certain direction. Now I can do like this, but I can do back. It cannot go sideways or backwards. It can only fold in one direction. So unlike the shoulder, the elbow bends and straightens in one direction only, like a door. Like a door. Okay, so on door we also place hinges, so that is why it is called hinge joint. The type of joint is called hinge joint. A similar hinge joint is present in your knee as well. Okay, where a small bone called the kneecap protects the joint. Next joint beta we have pivot joint. Now what is pivot joint? Now do this, shake your head as a no. Now you can see, you can pivot, you can pivot your head on a single axis, if I call it. So place your hand at the back of your neck and feel the gentle movement. Feel the gentle movement. Okay, how does the neck move so freely? Because of this pivot point. You have a pivot point, and around that you can move your head. The skull is connected to the backbone through a pivot joint, which allows the head to move side like a doorknob turning in its socket. Then beta, we have fixed joints. Now some joints are fixed. The skull, it is a hard case of flat bones. If you see in your bachpan, when you are just a newborn, you will see there are so many small parts of the skulls. They are not joined together. They come together as you grow up. Okay, so they are not joined together, but after that they become a hard case. Why? To protect your brain, to protect your eyes, your ears. The bones of the skull are connected by fixed joints. Okay, which means the bones of the skull cannot move. They cannot move. If you try to move it, they will break. Okay, this keeps the brain safe even when the body moves. Done? So these are all about the joints beta. Now this is some of the main differences that I want you to study. First is your plant tissue. Beta movement, plants are stationary, so they need not to make they don't need strong support. But plants, animals, we move, so we need strong posture, strong support, right? Growth beta, growth is limited to certain regions, but in animals growth is everywhere. My fingers are growing, my eyes are not growing, my face is growing, my hip legs are growing and stomach is growing. So growth occurs all over the body. Types, two main types, meristematic and permanent. Okay, in animals beta there are no such distinction, but tissues are more specialized. Okay, Organization, they have simple organization, but these are complexly organized into organs and organ systems. These are living or dead. They can be mostly dead, which provide cell strength. Okay, these are mostly living, are active and require maintenance. Okay, examples: xylem, phloem, apical, intercalary, lateral, all the examples that we studied. And here muscles, blood, bone, and all those things. Okay, now beta, let's see 2-3 questions. Which of the following tissues has dead cells? Parenchyma, sclerenchyma, collenchyma, epithelial tissue. Of course, ma'am, very easy. This is your sclerenchyma. This is your sclerenchyma. Sclerenchyma is the answer, because it was what? Hard. Remember coconut shell? Coconut shell, it was hard, so it is mostly dead. Okay, next question we have: girth of the stem increases due to apical, lateral, intercalary, or vertical? Ma'am, of course, lateral. That is your horizontal. It is your horizontal growth, so that relates to lateral. Okay, lateral meristem. So lateral meristem is your answer. Then beta, we have what is the lining of the blood vessels made up of? You give me the answer to all these questions and in the comment section. I'll tell you in just a minute, don't worry, but you have to write the answers. Pause this video and write the answers in the comment section. Okay, here are the answers. Beta, what is the lining of blood vessels made up of? These are made up of squamous epithelium. We studied lots of epithelium tissues, so this is squamous epithelium. What is the lining of small intestine made up of? That is your columnar epithelium. What is the lining of kidney tubules made up of? That is your again cuboidal epithelium. What are the epithelial cells with cilia found? That is your respiratory tract. Okay, so beta, these are some of the questions that you can remember. See, in epithelium not much questions will come, but these are some of the questions that are important that have come before. Okay, so these are what you have to revise, and beta, your tissue chapter is finally over. And I hope you revise it very well, and I hope that all the tricks I gave you will make you understand it in a perfect manner. Just get a copy while watching this one shot. I should have said that in the starting, but just get a copy while watching this one shot and just start making the flow charts. Don't even go into the theory, don't even go into the details, just the flow charts, and your whole chapter is sorted. Okay, that is it for this video beta. I'll see you in the next one. Tata, bye bye.